The rain had a way of making the world quieter, softening the edges of even the most rugged days. But for Caleb, that night, the storm wasn't just background noisy, it was the beginning of something extraordinary. It started with a detour. He and his 6-year-old daughter Ellie had taken the longer route home from her school recital, partly to avoid traffic and partly because Ellie loved driving through the hills. The truck's old heater was working overtime, and Ellie, still in her glittery tutu, was snuggled under her favorite blanket in the back seat, humming to herself. Caleb glanced in the rearview mirror and smiled. No matter how difficult life had been, that little girl gave him purpose. Lightning lit up the sky, followed quickly by the growl of thunder. Caleb slowed down instinctively, the road slick and visibility poor. As they rounded a bend, something caught his eye, a movement on the side of the road. A lone figure, soaked and barely visible in the rain's blur, was walking unevenly, one shoe missing. His instincts kicked in. He eased the truck to the shoulder and turned on the hazards. Ellie, stay in the truck. Lock the doors if you get scared. Okay? Ellie sat up. Is it someone in trouble, Daddy? I think so, he replied. Just stay put. He grabbed his jacket from behind the seat and ran into the rain. As he approached, he realized it was a woman, tall, mid-40s maybe, her face hidden by wet strands of hair, clothes drenched and clinging to her. She limped slightly. Ma'am, are you all right? He called out. The woman looked up, startled, then nodded faintly. I think I took a wrong turn. My phone died, and I slipped. Her voice was calm but carried undertones of fatigue and alertness, as if she'd been trained to keep it together in worse situations. Let me give you a ride. You're soaked, he offered. She hesitated, clearly calculating. Then she gave a short nod. Thank you. Inside the truck, Ellie stared at the woman curiously. Hi, I'm Ellie. Do you want cocoa? We have some at home. The woman gave a small smile, her lips barely moving. Thank you, Ellie. I'm Sarah. Caleb introduced himself and offered her a blanket from the back. She took it, wrapped it around herself, and looked out the window in silence for most of the ride. Caleb didn't press her with questions. Her guarded demeanor said enough. Whoever she was, she'd seen more than a wrong turn on a rainy night. When they got home, Caleb invited her inside. Just until the rain stops. We can get you dried off, maybe make a few calls. Sarah nodded. She took off her soaked coat and sat on the edge of the couch while Ellie raced to the kitchen to get her cocoa kit. Caleb handed Sarah a towel. You okay? That scrape on your knee looks rough. She glanced down. Just a graze. Nothing serious. There was something about her voice, steady, composed, not flinching even slightly. Caleb had seen that kind of composure before. His older brother had been in the military and had the same calm in his storm tone. Were you in the service? He asked gently. She looked at him, and for a second he saw a flicker of something, a surprise, hesitation, and then distance. A long time ago. That night, Sarah stayed in the guest room. Caleb and Ellie went about their usual evening routine: dinner, story time, and bedtime prayers. He peeked in once to check on Sarah, who was already asleep, the blanket pulled up to her chin. In the morning, the sun returned, bright and almost aggressively cheerful after the storm. Sarah was already up, sipping coffee in the kitchen and reading one of Ellie's picture books. She smiled at him when he entered. You have a beautiful home. Thanks, Caleb replied, pouring himself a mug. Hope you slept okay. Better than I have in a while. He didn't ask what that meant. She still hadn't told him where she was going or why she'd been out walking in the storm. But it didn't matter. Not yet. He had a feeling she'd tell him when she was ready. They were halfway through breakfast when it happened. They had stopped at the local grocery store, Caleb to grab some essentials, Sarah to see if they had a charger that would fit her phone. Ellie held Sarah's hand like they were old friends. As they reached the checkout line, a man in uniform stepped into the store. National Guard, by the look of it. He was young, maybe late 20s, and paused mid-stride when he saw Sarah. His eyes widened, then he straightened up sharply and saluted. Ma'am, General Knight, I didn't expect to see you here. Everything went still. Caleb turned slowly to look at Sarah, who sighed like someone exhaling a secret they'd been holding in for years. She returned the salute casually, almost shyly. At ease, Sergeant. The young man lowered his hand. It's an honor, "Ma'am, we studied your logistics operation in Afghanistan during our leadership training. I never thought I'd actually meet you." People around them began to murmur. Caleb blinked. Sarah Knight. It clicked. A name he hadn't heard in years, but one that had been on the news, in articles, in military circles. Sarah Knight had led one of the most complex logistical operations during a joint NATO rescue mission and had retired quietly a few years back. He looked at her again, really looked. Everything made sense now. The way she held herself, the calm precision in her voice, the lack of fear. After the young officer walked away, Caleb cleared his throat. "You didn't tell me you were the General Knight." Sarah smiled gently. "Didn't seem relevant." He laughed. "Well, color me humbled. I was just another soaked traveler last night. That's all that mattered." On the way home, Ellie asked a million questions. "Are you a superhero? Did you fly planes? Can I be a general too?" Sarah answered them all with patience and humor. But Caleb could see a weight had lifted from her. She didn't have to hide anymore. Later, as they sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Caleb asked, "Why were you really out there?" Sarah was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "My mother passed away last week. I came here for the funeral. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want the press or the military to turn it into a thing. I just wanted to say goodbye, quietly." Caleb nodded, understanding. She continued, "After everything, medals, ceremonies, speech essays, the small acts that stay with you, like a dad pulling over for a stranger in the rain. That's what real leadership is. Kindness." He looked at her, seeing her not as the decorated officer, but as a woman shaped by hardship, responsibility, and grace. "Stay for a while," he said, "if you want." "I think Ellie would love that." Sarah smiled, and for the first time, it touched her eyes. "I'd like that very much." And so, what began as a chance meeting in a storm turned into something lasting, a friendship, a lesson, and a story Ellie would tell for the rest of her life. The time a lost woman turned out to be a general. And how her dad reminded her that true strength often begins with a little kindness.